So why did the chicken cross the road? Well, it was always one of his goals to make it to the other side.
Welcome to the What Up Doc University podcast, your number one resource for total body wellness. Here's your host, Dr. Mike.
Hey everybody, welcome to another Follow-Up Friday with Dr. Mike. This is Follow-Up Friday number 3. Hope you had a great week this week. I know we did. We had a bunch of interviews that we did with some amazing people. And we also secured a bunch of interviews with some more amazing people. Some of the guys that we're going to be bringing on are amazing with the information that they have to share. And they're going to be on the show giving it to you guys. So make sure you stay tuned. So let's kick it off with the first article that I found this week to be really pertinent for your information. All right, so this first article comes out of Yahoo Health, and it says, can you prevent dementia through nutrition? And this really caught my attention, one, because it talked about nutrition, and two, because it talked about dementia. And my grandfather, he passed away from dementia, and I saw the effects of what it can have upon your body and what it can have an effect upon your family as well. So this really struck a chord with me. And obviously, if they're talking about nutrition, dementia, Alzheimer's disease, any type of disease being treated through nutrition, we got to take a look at it. And interesting enough, they state some of the obvious things that, you, the listener, will probably know. One, that flavonoids, found in like berries and fruits and all that kind of stuff, they had a protective effect on the brain functioning. And the obvious ones, like omega-3 fatty acids, all of that kind of stuff. One of the diets that they found to be the gold standard in preventing cognitive issues was the Mediterranean diet. And one of the interesting things that I found in this article, it says that, let me see if I can find it here. Oh, here it goes. But in practice, nutrition is rarely employed by doctors as a dementia prevention strategy, with practitioners choosing to treat cognitive decline once it hits instead of focusing on preventative care in those most prone to dementia. What are they saying, guys? They're saying that they know that there are preventative measures, like proper diet, proper lifestyle, that will prevent this kind of stuff from happening. But doctors rarely choose to use that approach. Very interesting, right? It says, hopefully that will change soon thanks to a big new randomized controlled study. That's a key word there, randomized controlled study, because this is what the medical community wants to see. Every time they ask about some type of natural treatment remedies, they want to see that randomized controlled study, that double-blind placebo study. And this was published in The Lancet, which makes the link between nutrition, lifestyle, and cognitive decline clear. So this was a study done in Finland, and what they did was they had about 1,200 study participants. They were ages 60 to 77. They all had risk factors for developing dementia. Okay, so what they did was they put them on a strict regimen of different types of brain exercises, different types of physical exercises, and a healthy diet. Okay, so for the diet, what they did was they looked at a diet that was about 10 to 20% calories from protein, 20 to 35% calories from fat, 45 to 55% from carbohydrates, about 25 to 35 grams of fiber, less than 5 grams of salt, and then less than 5% of total calories from alcohol. Okay, so that was their everyday goals for the participants in the study. Okay, and then what they found was that this was a culmination of about 2 years. What they found was that overall test scores were about 25% higher in the intervention group. So they found a really statistically significant improvement in the risk factors for the group that actually took some type of preventative measure. Now, what does this mean? Well, it brings about the obvious, guys. Everything that we talk about here on the podcast, that what you do in your life as far as your nutrition and lifestyle affects your body. And what you don't do also affects your body. And I always tell my patients that health is an active, participating sport, and disease is a passively participating sport. So, if you do something about your health, you get something. If you don't, you get something that you don't want. Most people want to live a long and happy life and be healthy, and they want to enjoy their life. Nobody ever wants to become diseased. Nobody ever wants to be sick. And a study that was performed out of the Washington University in St. Louis found that, very interesting, that what your friends think about you may determine how long you'll live. Very interesting study. Now, it's not like what your friends are gossiping and all that kind of stuff, but it's basically pointing out your personality traits. And they say that your friends are better at IDing your personality traits than you are, right? So think about it. A lot of times we think what we think of ourselves is not necessarily the perception other people get of us. Sometimes we may think of ourselves as being friendly, but everybody else thinks that we're not. And a lot of times, it's not necessarily what we think about ourselves, but how people are feeling around us. That's really what is going on. Because what we're portraying to others is the thing that we are. Okay? So they said that in the study, this was published in the Journal of Psychological Science, said that men lived longer when their friends rated them as conscientious and open. For women, emotional stability and agreeableness were protective. Okay, so let's dive even further. What do they say in this study here? They say that for men, actually for everybody, conscientiousness. Number of studies link conscientiousness to health behaviors like eating healthy, diet, proper exercise. Okay, so this is being aware of your health. So people who are conscientious tend to live longer. People who are neurotic tend to suffer from more anxiety and tend to be more stressed out. Their immune system's all whacked out. You guys probably know somebody like that. And it may be you. So here's a clue. There's a whole bunch of all these other traits, but here's a clue, guys. Look at your personality traits. Stuff that can actually help your health. Keep those personality traits. If it's not helping your health, like being neurotic about something and having anxiety, cut that stuff out. You don't need it anymore because it's wrecking your body. Another study was conducted of what are the 5 best states in the United States to grow old. This is something everybody looks at, right? They look forward to retiring. But what were the 5 best states? So they looked at crime rates, they looked at the economics, and they looked at what things catered towards the elderly population. So here are the top 5 states, starting with number 5. Number 5, Virginia. Number 4, Vermont. Number 3, the 50th state, Hawaii. That's a good place to retire. It's a good place to grow up too. Number 2, New Hampshire. Number 1, Utah. So there you go, guys. Your top 5 states to retire: Virginia, Vermont, Hawaii, New Hampshire, and Utah. Wanted to give a couple shout outs to my mentors who are actually going to be on the podcast in a couple more episodes. Their interviews are already done and getting edited right now. One is Dr. Randy Frank, and this guy is a very forward thinker in the arena of energy medicine. And then the other is Dr. Jeff Spencer, who is the chiropractor, doctor, mentor to a lot of top performing business people and athletes around the world. So shout out to Dr. Randy, Dr. Jeff, you're going to see them on a future episode. Stay tuned. Here's my thought I'm going to leave you guys with. This was a thought brought up when I was talking with Dr. Jeff, and he has a thing called the Champion's Blueprint. And we were talking about how the average person lives in the land of average or mediocrity. And it got me thinking about how much time we have in our life. And that is very finite. And a lot of times we do not take advantage of that, and myself included. And I get to see people from birth to grave, and it's very interesting to see, especially when as people get older, they start talking about the things that they wish they have done, and they talk about relationships, they talk about experiences that they wish they've done, and I had an interesting conversation with a patient this past week, and it was about how, for myself, changing of my vision and changing of my goals. When I was younger, in my 20s, my goals were all about becoming rich and famous. And that's normal for most people. You're coming out of high school and you're going into college, and getting out of college, most people want to be rich and famous. They want to have the big house. They want to have the nice car and all that stuff. And you're living in this land of materialism. And then for some people, you hit reality, of what people call reality, getting into the real world. And people start settling, and they start losing their dreams. And I talked about this in another episode about losing your dreams. But some people actually go out there and are trying to live their dreams, but they don't know what they're chasing after. And I know I was in that. I was in that spot where I was chasing after a dream that really wasn't a dream, that ended up becoming my nightmare because it didn't align with who I was. And what I found out through that process was that I was more about the stuff and what the stuff represented more than what aligned with who I really was. And what I mean by that was I started to look at people who, when they're, like I said, when they got to older ages, they regretted a lot of the things that they didn't do in the relationships that they wish they had, and the relationships that went away. And for me, that really struck a chord, because then I realized that my life's pursuit and goals is about those things. It's about the relationships. And that's one of the reasons why we even started the What Up Doc University in this podcast, was to pass on the knowledge that I was given, and to kind of be this collective conduit of knowledge in the world to get this out to the general public. And it's about experiences. And that's what I want your life to be about. I want your life to be about having rich experiences and having rich relationships. And that can only really come through you living your best life. That can only come through you having a clear mind. That can only come through you having a clear functioning body. And then through that, you can truly live. And that's the goal of what we want to do here at What Up Doc University. So if you love what we're saying here and the content that we're bringing out, please rate, subscribe, and give us a 5-star review. And what that does is that helps other people get to know What Up Doc University and what we have in store for them, and all the things that we have coming up. And I thank you guys who are already subscribed and have already rated and reviewed us, and shared this with your friends and family. Because the more that we share with others, the more information that they get, and they get empowered. And the more that you get empowered, the more that you can take charge of your health. And when you take charge of your health, you take charge of your life. And nobody else becomes your caretaker. You are your caretaker. So with that, I'll see you on the next podcast. Aloha.